And to learn more about this plane wreckage, we are now joined by J Lawler. He's an aviation expert and founder of Pilot Law. Brian, some news sites saying that air safety investigators have a high degree of confidence that the photo of this debris shows a wing component unique to the Boeing 777. Of course, you've seen the images. They seem to be everywhere. What's your take on this?
Well, Mike, first of all, thanks for having me. I've read those same reports, and what I'm understanding is that there's an identifiable part of the what's called the flaperon for a Boeing 777 that no one's exactly identified what that part is, but it seems to be pretty accepted that it might be a flaperon from a 777. No one's identified it as being from MH370, but it does appear that it might be from a 777.
And Brian, we're also getting reports in, I'm just reading this now, Malaysian Transport Minister saying it's too early to know if the debris found on Reunion Island is from the missing Malaysia Airlines flight. Australian transportation official says that ocean drift models they have suggested is possible, not probable, the debris would wash ashore at Reunion. More information coming in, and it's all coming in kind of fragmentally. What's your thoughts on the drift pattern? And I guess what the Malaysian authorities are saying is we shouldn't jump to any conclusions, which I'm sure you would agree with.
Yeah, I certainly would. I mean, I've investigated a fair number of these types of crashes, and it is early, but I have read that depending on where the wreckage went into the water, assuming also that the wreckage did in fact go into the water, that's not been proved yet. We're talking about MH370, but it would be more likely that this piece could have washed up where it did if the wreckage had gone in on the northwestern shore of Australia, as opposed to the southwestern shore of Australia. I guess the currents would have dragged it to the west across the Indian Ocean much faster. But again, no one really knows, first of all, if this aircraft in fact impacted the water, and if so, where. And it's also important to note that the piece that was found, no one knows if it came off an aircraft in flight or after an aircraft hit the water. So again, way too many pieces to have to put together. But certainly the first piece would be identifying this particular component of the aircraft as coming off MH370.
And so talk to us about the analysis process. How long will that take? And what can one piece of debris tell you?
Well, that's a great question. One piece of debris can, depending on how it separated from the aircraft, there would be stressors and fracture marks and other indicators on the component that might let the investigators know whether it separated from the aircraft upon impact with the ground or water, or otherwise some stress fracture or failure occurred while the aircraft was still flying. That's actually not that difficult to ascertain, and that would certainly be one of the first pieces that the investigators would want to look at when, in fact, did that piece separate from the aircraft.
How long do you think what exactly happens in terms of analysis? What will they be looking for? I guess identifiers, obviously, trying to determine how it came apart from the jet. I mean, what are some of the things they'll be looking at, the analysts that will search this?
Right, with having just the one piece, like I mentioned, there will be some analysis done on the points where the part fastens to the aircraft. So did those fail under some sort of a load, meaning some sort of G or other speed that would have caused the piece to separate from the aircraft before it impacted, or were there some severe stressors that are more consistent with pieces coming apart under some real violent collision with either terrain or water. It depends on, it's probably a few months to maybe several months or longer before they can figure out exactly how that happened. The actual analysis of when the component came off the airplane is a little bit easier, and that probably wouldn't take too terribly long.
And Brian, we've talked to you in the past about this. I mean, this search was mammoth, and it was, as many people said, it was not even looking for a needle in the haystack. It was looking for the haystack to try and find the needle. A very difficult search. There's still a search effort underway. I mean, there's still ships going out, not as much as before. Do they look at this and say, perhaps we need to change where we're doing our search? I mean, would it impact that at all?
Yeah, I don't know if you'd want to change the search pattern. I know from my experience, we lost a military aircraft about 15 years ago off the coast of North Carolina, and in the search for that particular aircraft, other debris from an aircraft crash, another military aircraft crash that had happened about 20 years before off the Puerto Rico coast, was discovered. I don't think anyone wanted to go change the search pattern for that previous mishap. So I don't think you want to change the entire search pattern. I mean, just this one piece of aircraft, which again has not yet been identified as MH370, I think it would be jumping to conclusions to take the entire search team and search effort and move it based on this one piece.
All right, Brian Lawler joining us from San Diego. Thanks so much.